Welcome to Shamal's class. Today we are going to learn English Class 8 poem Pilgrim. Here we have the poem. Let's recite the poem. A pilgrim going a lane highway came at evening cold and grey to a chasm deep and vast and wide. The old man crossed in twilight dim. The chasm held no fear for him, but he paused when he reached other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, why waste your time in building here? Your journey ends with the close of the day. You never again will pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build ye here at eventide? The pilgrim raised his old grey head. My friend, in the path I have come, he said. There followeth after me today a fair-haired youth who must pass this way. The chasm which held no fears for me. To the fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. My friend, I am building this bridge for him. A pilgrim going along highway. A pilgrim means a person or people who travel on religious reason. That is, they may go from their homes or anywhere place for worship. That is called the pilgrims. The person who travel for religious purpose is also called a pilgrims. And he is traveling a long highway, as well as the highway was deserted, that nobody was traveling there. Okay, in the olden days people were travel on their foot, but even today we find some people travel for religious purposes on their foot. So this is the beginning of the poem. Start with telling us about the pilgrims who was traveling on a lone highway. Came at evening, cold and grey, to a chasm, deep and vast and wide. So that means as he was at a evening time, and the poet telling us the evening was very cold. It must be chilly. It must be a very, the weather of the climate must be a little temperature must be a down. The grey means it here it is that it could be the rain cloud overing, that is the grey cloud, or it means it could be no, the sun has to be dark now. So he reached at there where he reached in the dark place to a chasm deep, vast and wide. Now chasm means any gap in the surface of the earth. So here the chasm was a very deep and vast. That is, vast means what? The very big and wide means very broad. So if there is a chasm near the water body, so it is filled with water. Do you know, in the rainy days when the chasm is full of water, and sometimes it becomes very difficult to judge the depth of the water. It could be dangerous, it could be the sleepy, or it may be fall anyone in the easily. We cannot judge the depth of the valley. So only the experienced person able to pass this deep chasm. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The chasm held no fear for him. So here the poet telling us that the pilgrim is the old person. He is twilighted It means a very dim light, means the time of the horizon. So here we know that it is the evening time. So the sun is setting and therefore it is a little light. Is there not a bright light? It's a very light light. And so he was able to cross the chasm very easily because he has no fear for him. He was a very experienced traveler, maybe a traveled path many times. So he knows about the chasm. He know about the dangerous chasm, the depth about the chasm. So he is an experienced traveler and he knows everything. He was able to cross the other side very easily because he was known about that path. Because of his experience, he across that chasm very easily. But he paused when he reached the other side. So here the poet is telling us that he did not go walking all his way. Okay, he across the chasm, nothing difficult for him because he was a very experienced traveler. So he could easily travel. But he paused, means he waited for there. He thought for something. So let us see what he is thinking about. Why did he pause there? He thought for a moment there. Let's check what was his thinking. And build a bridge to span the tide. So after pausing, what he did, he thought about something and he started building a bridge across the chasm. Okay, because there was a chasm, it was a very deep, it was a very wide, it was a very vast. So he started building a bridge that have at the evening hour to span the tide. Span means to cross over, and the tide could be a water. You know the high tide, the chasm near water bodies. There could during be water in the chasm. The chasm could be filled with water, and so we cannot judge the depth of the chasm when it is filled with water. So he says that we build a bridge to span a tide, that is to cross over the tide of water. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, why waste your time in building here? So there was another traveler who came across and he found that the old man these are building a bridge where he has already crossed the chasm. Isn't it look like a funny? Also we find it odd. That's why the old man building a bridge who already crossed the chasm. And it is a twilight time. It is getting dark. It is better to go on your way, isn't it? And the traveler, as much as you can, you already crossed the chasm. So why builds this is a wandering? He said the old man that it only he wasting his time. Let's go on. Let's move forward. Your journey ends with the close of the day. You never again will pass this way. So the fellow pilgrim continues to telling to the old pilgrims that your journey will end with a close of the day, means end of the day. We can also use, he says that you become very old and never going to use this path again. So he's saying that your journey is going to the end of the day. You will never come here again to travel. Why are you wasting your time here? The fellow traveler did not understand the reason behind why the old pilgrim is building a bridge on chasm. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build ye here at even tide? So that the fellow pilgrim continues. He still did not understand why the old man building a bridge over here. Here means you. Why are you here and wasting the time at the twilighted time of the tide? Eventide means evening time. So we know that it was evening, isn't it? He was a very less it was a very less time, less light. So the fellow pilgrim telling the old man, why you are wasting here and why are you building a bridge here? You already crossed the chasm. It was a very deep, it was a very wide, and you may never come here again to pass this way. The pilgrim raised his old grey head. My friend, in the path I have come, he said. So now the old pilgrim talks and start answer the fellow pilgrim's questions. So he raised his old grey head. Here grey means the color. It was black. It turns into the grey because of his older age. He said, my friend, in the path I have come. So now he is traveling the reason why he is building a bridge. He traveled so many times on the same way. He said, I have building a bridge for a particular reason. There followeth after me today a fair-haired youth who must pass this way. So he is saying that there is another traveler, another young person, that is a fair-haired youth. Means his hair, the young person's hairs, it could be any color. So he says that he will come across the chasm and he will reach here at any time. The young person who was also traveling there, and the old man told that the young person, the fair-haired person will come at here any time. The chasm which held no fear for me, to the fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. So the old man telling him that the chasm is very deep and have a very experienced person about these chasms. I have no fear how to cross the chasm, but he is saying, fair-haired youth, the person who is falling on the same path, he will come here, and he has an inexperienced person. He has not any idea about the depth of the chasm. It was how dangerous, and so it may be pitfall. Pitfall means pit means a hole, and fall. It could be the death of a person. As fall into the chasm, it could be a very dangerous. It is the reason the old pilgrims given to the fellow pilgrim. He too must cross in the twilight dim. My friend, I am building this bridge for him. So here, twilight time, he will reach here. He is not able to understand the depth of the chasm. It is very dangerous for him, and that is why, my friend, I am going to build this bridge for him, the old man told to the fellow pilgrims. So this poem conveys a message: unselfish, helpful nature of the old man. Now a bridge signifies a connection between two generations, the older generation as well as the new generation. So we find the old generation has done so much for the younger generation. So the generation have been benefited from the all hardships of the old generations gone through or the brilliant work of the older generations have done. Maybe scientists, may social frames, maybe other places will be artistic people who made such a great monuments, such a great things they found out invented. So this poem is a bridge builder as well as it is adapted for. I hope you enjoy the poem. Thank you.